Good morning again. I'd like now to continue with our series of conversations with the keynote speakers. And to that end, I'm delighted to welcome to the virtual stage now, Fatmir Besimi, the Minister of Finance of the Republic of North Macedonia. Minister Besimi is new to the job since September, having been appointed following the elections in North Macedonia in summer of last year. Prior to this, he's had various roles, both in academia as an economist, including as a visiting professor at the LSE, and in politics, including the crucial file as Deputy Prime Minister with responsibility for European affairs. In North Macedonia, that's particularly important given both the European Union accession discussion, which has been on the agenda since 2005, and the crucial role of foreign direct investment in North Macedonia's economy. Minister, thank you very much for joining us. If I can, I would like to start with that first point. When I spoke to your predecessor, Minister Angelovska, this time last year, she was very upbeat about the accession conversations and the naming dispute having been resolved. We've hit a roadblock with Bulgaria having objected to your accession. Given the conversations that you must have with a lot of foreign direct investors, how do you characterize that dispute and the discussion, and what can you say to reassure them?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be in this audience and talk about economic perspectives of North Macedonia and our European perspective as well. Related to the issue you mentioned, I just want to reiterate that EU membership remains our strategic goal as a country. And in terms of the process of officially starting negotiations, we hope that this year will be the year when officially we'll start the negotiations, since we have a date for opening the negotiations since last year. These were good news for the country and for the investors. One important issue that was last year happened is the membership to NATO. So this, from experience of countries in the region and Central and Eastern European countries, once they became NATO member, foreign investors has increased, and the same as the impact of EU negotiations. In this respect, I want just to say that we will continue working hard in terms of the reform agenda and all what is needed to ensure that there is a business environment for investors, attractive policy, sustainable and predictable tax policy, so that will make investments in the country more attractive and competitive in terms of their costs and also opportunities in the market. We, in this respect, I would just say that yes, sooner the better. But in this sense, we are looking for other options. Meanwhile, so screening process, working on the agenda, negotiations, that will have some further strong message for investors that the country moves forward with the reform. So this is what we are trying to do, and we will continue negotiations with Bulgaria on the open issues, so finding a solution as soon as possible, and also start negotiations with the EU.
Thank you very much. I think we can't miss the big topic of the year, the COVID epidemic. Clearly, every country in Europe's growth has been hit by the pandemic. In your perspective, it came after a period of very strong growth with a lot of foreign direct investment. The downside of that is obviously your economy is very open, it's very dependent on some vulnerable sectors, German cars and what have you. Is there any possibility to return to the same sort of growth that you saw before the pandemic? Or do you think that economic growth going forward is going to be of a different type?
Yeah. We as a small and open economy, we also face the economic impact of the crisis. Health, of course, the issues that the pandemic, our country was also exposed to this to virus COVID. But in terms of the economy, the largest economies or trading partners, which is Germany, 48.7% of our trade is and export is with Germany, and 80% is with EU countries. So this was affecting also our economy. And from 3.8 initially planned growth, we ended with a projection of 4.4 decline of GDP in 2020. For 21, we expect an economic growth. It's in our projection, economic growth of 4.1%, which will be also driven by investments in infrastructure in public sector, but as well as attracting investments in private sector, both consumption and public expenditures in consumption. We consider that this will be a year first, especially after we expect on the second quarter of the year, when the COVID impact, assuming to this general assumption that COVID will, with the vaccine and the others, that we will have a chance from the second half of the year especially, but this to be more predictable. We expect the year to go with a 4.1% growth. So this is something what we expect for the next period, and we rely this on certain economic facts. We had almost 15% decline of GDP in the second quarter, and the third quarter is only 3.3%. But investments in the country, gross capital investments in the economy, in the third quarter showed an increase of 4.2% compared to the previous year, when we didn't have a COVID. And this is a strong signal that the private sector responded to policy reactions, anti-crisis, anti-COVID measures, social and economic measures, packages. And this showed some fact, and we expect that the economy on the next year with this support in the economy, and meanwhile recovery for the next year in the budget, that we consider fiscal consolidation in midterm, and in medium term we consider also to have a growth for 21-25, which for the first time we went with a 5-year framework for the budget, and we plan that 2025 our growth to be to have an accelerated growth, so reaching 5.9% economic growth. So this seems an ambitious program, but we have here certain these drivers of growth that we see on sustainability in terms of the rule of law, reforms, business environment. Then we have in infrastructure. We have resilience of the private sector for increasing the competitiveness, reducing informal economy, digitalization, green economy, and human capital. So these are the fields that we consider that will be the engine of growth in the next period, to double, let's say, the speed of growth from the average on the previous decade of 2.5% up to 5% in the next period and midterm. So this is in terms of the pandemic and our plans for the next period, how to improve our economic growth and as well as the living standard of the citizens.
I like your very positive, upbeat message, and obviously good luck with that. One thing that I would, you didn't mention though, is interest rates. Clearly in response to the pandemic, you were able to cut policy rates, which is a luxury that your main export markets clearly don't have, at being at the zero lower band. How much are your ability to manipulate or to change interest rates constrained by your pegged exchange rate to the euro and the importance of the euro?
Yeah, that's you're right. That's a big challenge, having a pegged exchange rate, and also how do we move with this interest rate policy, which is to be correct. So interest rate policies are to the central bank authority. The fiscal policy has been expansionary, as it has been in other countries. So and it was addressed to different channels. One is the health sector and vaccines and hospitals capacity to increase and medical personnel. so the health of people is first. So whatever it takes, we consider it's important there. Then we had protecting jobs, supporting business sector to survive, financial stability and protecting jobs. So this is the market. And the third is vulnerable categories. So these were the three channels when we said we should address the economic policy as a response to COVID. And meanwhile, we consider that there is enough level of foreign exchange reserves. So our economy and our currency will not be by this creating a pressure on the exchange rates. So in terms of appreciating or depreciating, I mean in nominal or real terms, talking here about the exchange rate. So this was enough. There was enough space for moving with the interest rate, which was a decision of the central bank. But that this didn't reflect in an increase of inflation, although we had this period with consumption goods increased consumption demand for this period. The year that is coming, actually, we plan for 2021 1.5% inflation. This is a projection for 2021. So we do not see any inflationary pressure for the next period. So macroeconomic stability will remain during the next period, both in fiscal and monetary terms.
We are almost out of time. We are actually out of time, but it would be remiss of me as an ex-capital markets banker myself not to ask a question about funding. I think I've seen a prediction of 8.4% of GDP deficit, and clearly last year you had a successful visit to the Eurobond market. Given the number of bankers watching this, are you going to be accessing the offshore bond market again this year?
Yes, we will be there. Actually, in terms of our budget, when I said for the next year, and I want to also once again to express this assurance that our policy reaction was intact and timely addressed. So we had this mission of IMF that made a public statement about the impact of policy response to alleviate the COVID impact on the economy, as some positive impacts on this. Then we had this credit rating. The country didn't remained actually in the same level, didn't go down with the credit rating. So we remain stable in these terms. In terms of the budget 2020, we had 99% execution of the budget in terms of revenues, which is quite in these unpredictable times to have a 99% revenues execution according to the plan. It is quite encourages for this period. And we also have increased capital investment as execution rate. And so these were some figures for 2020. In terms of 21, we continue to have from 8 and the deficit we ended is 8.1% of GDP 2020. For 21, we aim for 4.9% of GDP as a budget deficit, and in 5 years is to end to 2% in 2025. So this is the plan. In terms of the foreign markets, financial markets, we next year is overdue euro bond that was issued in July 21, and it is around 500 million euros. So what we will be now during this period, actually, we will have around 860 million new debt in foreign markets, and which includes also the let's say loans that we are withdrawing, but also in the bond market will be present. So in total, we will have domestic and foreign in net basis, or borrowing will be 533 million euros on net basis. Actually, 250 net and 270 on net basis in foreign and domestic markets. So Our budget deficit of 560 mainly will be financed from with borrowing to finance the budget deficit for the next year. So can expect that in the following months we will go in the bond market and with issuing a bond that we consider will have more sustainable financing of the budget. Will be important for the economy, but the liquidity, and also as a signal to investors that the government has a stable financial public finance management.
Given the success of your previous transaction and given the positive upbeat message that you've explained today, I'm very confident that's going to be an extremely good transaction. Minister, good luck with that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation once again. It was really nice to be here to share this with you, and we are open for any further contacts, meetings with the audience, with interested investors. So good luck for you as well. And 2021, let's hope, will be much better than the year we left behind us. Thank you. All the best. Health, first of all. Bye.
Thank you.